We witnessed the arrival of Jey Uso at the start of Raw. That's how Michael Cole described Jey Uso turning up to the building at 3 p.m. CT. I mean, you would think it was Santa Claus. Also, hello, my friends. Welcome to a brand new week of professional wrestling with me, Simon Miller, the bald idiot that just so happens to review sports entertainment. You give me love and I give you love, and it's just a big love it. That sounds disgusting. Let's up those down. We also got a big video focusing on SmackDown because, of course, The Rock and Roman Reigns had put out a challenge to Cody Rhodes. And then who came to the ring for Raw? Cody Rhodes. He is super pumped to be facing the greatest champion of all time at WrestleMania in Roman Reigns. But now there's a massive distraction in the way, and that guy is The Rock. This is like when you're a parent and your kid is hanging out with the other kid, and you really hate that other kid. I think Rhodes was mostly annoyed that The Rock keeps talking about his dog, which I do understand. And look at him with his verbal salad he keeps throwing out there. Surprise, surprise, people want you to be a politician, Dwayne. You're really good at this. Rhodes also addressed some of this other noise because, yes, at one point he was going to walk away from WrestleMania, but that's before he saw that stupid PowerPoint presentation where the Bloodline were going, our family is better than anybody else's when it comes to wrestling. I quite like that. Also, it's quite funny to call it a PowerPoint. That is essentially what The Rock did in front of thousands of people. Seth Rollins then came to the ring because Cody asked him to, and Rhodes was like, listen, you have had my back, old pal. I really appreciate it, but I also understand you have to deal with Drew McIntyre now, the last guy to pin me. He is a big deal, so if you've got to walk away, I understand. Rollins poo-pooed all of that, though, because while the Scottish Warrior does have to be dealt with, the Bloodline are more important than anything, and now Seth has to finish his story too. I was like, man, there's so many damn stories to finish. Can somebody please write the final chapter? I mean, why don't you just call the authors a page? Seth is also completely tired of The Rock, because he hasn't been The Rock for some time, when he came up with a brand new name for him, which was Diarrhea Dwayne. Oh no. Now, to be fair, the fans did chant this, so I suppose you must have done something right. And I think the idea here was that Seth Rollins was coming up with a stupid catchphrase that this brand new version of The Rock would do, and therefore it's meant to be lame. But very sadly, this is like Far Cry Blood Dragon. Didn't see that coming, but we are going down this lane. In Far Cry Blood Dragon, they go, ha ha, tutorials. Aren't tutorials funny and lame? Well, making you do a tutorial, you can put two and two together. Seth is also pissed off The Rock insinuated that he would take his world title away from him because he does have board powers, and the fact that Dwayne Johnson has said the wrestling is cool again. Because let's look at The Rock, he hasn't been cool in 20 years. Rollins then confirmed he is 100% clear and he will go to SmackDown with Cody Rhodes. Well, they will answer The Rock and Roman Reigns. Because I've turned into a massive 2024 geek, I was like, show is gonna do gangbusters. So the main point of this segment was, of course, to let you know you better tune in on Friday nights to find out if we are doing this big old tag. And look, in that sense, it did do a good job. But a small part of me, this part right here, was like, I kind of think Cody and Seth needed to be way more aggressive here. I mean, the Bloodline on Friday, they went nuts. I did enjoy it though, and it got me excited for SmackDown, so I am going to give it an up. Like, can't get over that diarrhea line. Like, again, I understand what we were trying to do, and I always enjoy people swinging for the fences. Sometimes you miss. I've got to give it a down. Made me feel a little bit oogly boogly in my tum-tum. We then move right into Dominic Mysterio versus Gunther after this. I think it may be the most fun I've ever had in my life. What a loser. The best part actually had nothing to do with the match itself, because Michael Cole at the start said, well, we just want to congratulate Sting on an amazing career because he recently retired. And then Pat McAfee weighed in and said, man, what an amazing last match. It was absolutely brilliant. The internet is also pretending that Cole cut off Pat when he said that, but that's not the case. The match on Raw started, so we had to talk about that. But give me more of this. Especially when it comes to somebody like Sting, as the fans say, he deserves it. Otherwise, though, this absolutely ruled, because it was Gunther just spanking Dominic Mysterio for 10 minutes. Like at one point, he was bouncing around the place, it didn't work, and the ring general looked at him like he was absolute trash, just went whammo, down he went. JD McDonough was also at ringside, and he kept trying to help, but that was like kissing a bee because you got some kind of insect problem. It didn't work. Gunther even hit this death clothesline at one point to get the 1-2-ooh. That wasn't a 1-2-ooh, it was a 1-2, I'm gonna pick your ass up because I'm not done with you. When he continued to just kill him, he hit the power bomb and then locked on the Boston Crab, which is weird, he's not even from Boston, and Dom tapped out instantly. It's another reason why I love that character. He gets it. So this was basically just to remind you, you do not flub with the Ring General. It is getting up. You should go and watch it. Adam Pearce then got mad at Damage Control, because for some reason they were on Raw. Now, Dakota Kai made it very clear we're allowed to be here because we're part of the tag team champions who can go from brand to brand. And I was like, look, okay, that is true, but you better not cause havoc. Kai insisted they were just here to scout Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark. And for some reason, Adam believed this. I was like, bro, don't be so gullible. If you are that gullible, let me sell you this amazing Ponzi scheme. Shinsuke Nakamura also wanted to have a chat about the Intercontinental title, so they went into Adam's office. Don't worry, this was a tease, but he was going to reveal it later. Andrade was then showing arriving at the arena, and I was like, well, did all the other superstars make it? Because we haven't seen them turned up. When Kayden, Carter, and Katana Chance were like, we're going to win back the women's tag team titles. They went to the ring, they faced Shayna and Zoey, and they totally lost. They lied to us. Damage Control were at ringside for this too, and I totally lost it because like Adam Pearce. I get that you can't stop them coming into Raw, but you absolutely could have stopped them sitting from ringside. Somebody go have a word with him. Chance and Carter do have the best moves though, because they hit this double Spanish fly thingamajig, and they were able to hit the party keg. And they would have got the win if it wasn't for those meddling. Actually, it was Shayna Baszler that broke this up though when she locked in the Kira Fuda clutch, which is when Zoey hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up onto Katana, and she got the 1-2-3. Dakota then announced that the Kabuki Warriors will win on NXT, which means next week on Raw, we can do Asuka and Kairi Sane versus these two. I was like, man, it's like Back to the Future 4, we're in fast motion. Now, it does kind of feel to me like we are headed for a multi-person match at WrestleMania, which I suppose will be fine. And this was all right, so I am going to give it an up. But I am in a geek mood today, so I'm giving it down for the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. I mean, if you're making Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark the #1 contenders, just let them hit their big old maneuver and get the 1-2-3, then at least we can believe it a little bit more. It's a pointless down, but it's a down all the same. Judgment Day was then here, and they were trying to sort stuff out from earlier, because of course Dommy Boy did loss. Damian Priest and Finn Balor was like, hey, JD McDonough, we think you can sort out Gunther. He was like, I really don't want to do that. J-Mo and Finn are also going to sort out Imperium later. When Andrade walked in, kind of did a little bit of a shuffle, and while Priest wasn't impressed with this, the condom acted like he could be an asset. So I stroked my crappy beard. Something is brewing. I mean, maybe we're going to do something like Dominik Mysterio versus Andrade at WrestleMania. Speaking about the show of shows, we're about to break the mold. Because sometimes the obvious choice is the right one. We have talked about this a lot, but you sit your ass down in a movie theater and you're watching a romantic comedy, you just want to see the two leads get together, and you cry because you have no love in your real life. And that's what I kind of expected to happen here too, because it was Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax. And after Nia ran wild for a little bit because she's so powerful, I thought, Bex will fight back, she will get the win, and then she can head off to WrestleMania. That did not happen. Now, Nia, of course, was able to hit a couple of Samoan drops, which is fine because she is Samoan. And when she went for the Annihilator and Becky Lynch moved, after casting, I need to dodge this, I thought she's going to get some moves and apply the armbar. They kind of did that, but they spilled to the outside, where do you know who appeared from nowhere? It was Liv Morgan. Now, she, of course, attacked Nia right away because she wanted revenge for what Becky Lynch did to her last week. The referee saw this and went, well, that's a disqualification, and by the rules, Nia Jax wins. Ugh. Lynch and Liv then got into it, so Nia Jax took advantage of this and she just smashed both of them. And then later on, we saw Becky and Morgan falling out, and Becky was like, why'd you do that, man? Last week, I was just trying to get revenge on Nia Jax, and now you're trying to get revenge on me. Liv was like, well, yes, that's entirely the plan. What's wrong with you? So I actually thought this was great because it goes to show that WWE superstars do remember things that happened to them. There was a time where you could go week to week and it didn't matter what happened, save a day would go, everybody forgot. It also makes this build to WrestleMania super interesting because now Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan are having a match next week. And how the hell is that going to tie in? And after they had fallen out backstage, Rhea Ripley walked past and she saw the man and went, ha ha ha, you're a loser. So I like this. It's like we have one big narrative and everybody's invited. Let's get it up. When Ricochet was back on Raw, where the flub have you been? He had also decided, despite being absent for ages, he was going to march into Adam Pearce's office, and he said something like, I've realized that around here, closed mouths don't get fed. I was like, Rick, you haven't been on the show in weeks. Stop speaking in riddles. Adam then told him to calm down, and he stuffed some pizza into his mouth. He didn't do that. When JD McDonough walked in, and he too wants a shot at the Intercontinental Champion, I was like, Adam, you have a situation on your hands. Now we did get some segments between this that we've already talked about, but when we cut back to Adam Pearce, he was making his big announcement about the Intercontinental Championship, and he turned it into a produced video. It had music and clips. I was like, How did you make this in about 2 minutes? But we are going to have a gauntlet match next week on Raw featuring Sami Zayn, Bronson Reed, Shinsuke Nakamura, Chad Gable, JD McDonagh, and Ricochet. And whoever wins that will become the #1 contender for the Intercontinental title. Now, I did laugh again because a lot of these people that have been entered are just those going, yo, geese title shot. That does work in WWE. But look, this will be a fine contest. And then we can start building to the IC Championship. Like for over 600 days. WWE hasn't steered me wrong, I believe. It then turned out this Raw was people just randomly coming back because Apollo Crews was here too. Honestly, I need a new story about where he's been. Apparently he was just cannon fodder for the properly debuting Andrade, and yet this went 3 minutes. There was this cool spot when Apollo went for a superplex, but Andrade turned it into 3 amigos, and then he hit the DDT, and he got the 1, 2, 3. That's probably the right thing to do, because it rhymes. Now, I have no idea what's next for Andrade. It kind of feels to me like he should be in that Intercontinental title shuffle. Well, I guess if he's not going to win, don't do that, so I am going to give it an up. But when it comes to poor Apollo Crews, who is such a good wrestler, and it makes me question why we ever called him up from NXT, is getting it down. You just reminded me that he should be being featured more, and he's not. Sami Zayn then cut this amazing promo about how he has to get to WrestleMania to win the IC title, and he probably should be the guy. When Valhalla and Ivar walked in, they were like, listen, we're Vikings, we think we're more deserving. It all ended because they decided to fight later, and I was like, yeah, I should have seen this coming. It is what wrestlers do. There were also so many segments of this Raw that came from nowhere, because all of a sudden Tegan Nox and Natalya were back on TV. They were kind of arguing, but not. Because Natty dropped in that line about getting hungry and forgetting our manners, which is an homage to her father. And essentially, she wants them to get on the same page and go after the titles. And then Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell agreed, and so did Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile. So you can see why I think we're going to do this multi-person match. I mean, it's staring at us right in the face. Won't stop looking. It's kind of making me uncomfortable. This is when the Judgment Day did exactly what they promised. So that made me feel nice. Went out there and they beat Imperium. What absolutely rules about this, though, is that clearly all 4 of these guys went out there and decided, well, we'll just listen to how the fans react, and if we need to switch it on the fly, we will. So when all of a sudden Finn Balor and Damian Priest were getting cheered, they started to work babyface. That is a massive round of applause. This is top tier stuff. It was Balor who got beat up for a while too before he got the hot tag, Damian Priest, who went absolutely crazy with flatliners. At one point, he took the pointy bit of his elbow and he smacked Giovanni Vinci right in the face. The Falcon Arrow then followed for a 1-2-ooh when Finn had warmed up his hand and he was desperate for somebody to touch it, which Damian did. Hot tag. He finished that run with this amazing coup de grace that Ludwig Kaiser broke up with the 1-2-ooh. I won't lie, I totally bought that. I thought they'd done it. Balor got instant revenge on him though, because he did a big dive, so take that and party. When Damian Priest and Vinci got into it, and while Giovanni tried to steal one, Damian was like, no. This massive clothesline, the big old choke slam, and he beat him for the 1-2-3. And this just made me so satisfied. Sometimes I just want winners and I just want losers. And the Judgment Day are the tag team champions. They should be able to go around and say, that's right, we're the best. It also does sound like we are going to get a brand new set of tag team titles soon, one on Raw and one on SmackDown, but we've already talked about that. But in terms of the match itself, I am going to give it an up. And could we turn the Judgment Day good guys permanently? Yeah. It's up to you. Wrestling is but a story. We then got the official announcement that Paul Heyman is going into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, and yes, there's no one more deserving. Also, this makes all the sense in the world. WrestleMania is hailing from Philadelphia. Michael Cole also told this great story about how Heyman had helped him at the start of his broadcast career, and that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to contribution from Paul E. Yeah, I said it once, I'll say it twice. He really does deserve it. We then got to our current hater of the year next. We had an interview with Drew McIntyre. Now, we have had some shifts when it comes to Hate of the Year 2024. I mean, Drew remains in #1, but Hangman Adam Page has moved up to #2 because he cost himself the world title just so Swerve wouldn't win it. As you can see, AJ Styles is still #3. He did fly all the way to Australia to beat LA Knight. They'll be there for a while. But it's also a question of who have you hated lately. Damage Control is in at #4 because, of course, they absolutely wrecked Bayley. And in at #5 is Jimmy Uso. You will see. Anyway, McIntyre is so mad at Seth Rollins because he's not concentrating on the matter at hand, and he just wants to be in the spotlight. Because look at this. CM Punk comes back. There's Seth Rollins. Cody comes back. There's Seth Rollins. The Rock comes back. There's Seth Rollins. So Drew has decided he's done with all of this and that the World Championship deserves better than Seth, so he's going to win it at WrestleMania, and he's also going to beat the piss out of Jey Uso later. that is your main event. Rhea Ripley also then made sure to find Damage Control and basically said to Io Sky, don't do anything stupid or I'll break you. And Sami Zayn defeated Valhalla. No, he didn't. He defeated Ivar. Maybe we'll do the other match next week. Now, of course, the big talking point about all of this is the fact that Michael Cole tried on the antlers. I don't know what's happening to me with this. Look, I've got the shirt on. I am the owner of Goofy Wrestling for life. But this totally lost on me, and I just find it weird. Why does he like the antlers so much? Zayn also got absolutely flattened with a senton at the start of this, although he was able to come back with this amazing sunset flip powerbomb for a 1-2-ooh. And essentially, the story of this match is Sami being like, I'm going to hit you with a louver kick. I missed. Well, I'm going to try again. I missed. What the hell am I going to do now? Turns out he just needed to hit an exploder first, which also looked crazy when he finally got the kick from hell, whatever you want to call it, and he got the 1-2-3. Again, I was distracted here because Valhalla was annoyed that Michael Cole was wearing the antlers, so was doing this weird dance on the announce table. I'm gonna have to go lay down. Bronson Reed also made sure to take advantage of this, and he laid Sami out afterwards, which of course ties into the Gauntlet match in 7 days' time. But all of this was all right. Gunther was then talking to Kathy Kelly when he actually praised Dominic Mysterio. He was like, well, I guess he gave me a kind of a good fight, but he's also a massive idiot. He also lies the fact there is this Gauntlet match on Raw for his championship, because this is the biggest prize in the game, so everybody should be vying for it. The only sad point when it comes to those guys is they'll get to WrestleMania and they'll lose. Now, Chad Gable took exception to that, so he confronted the ring general, and he was like, listen, I am done with that condescending smile on your face, so I'm going to win the gauntlet, I'm going to go to Mania, I'm going to take that smile, and instead, I'm going to put it on my daughter's face. I was like, bro, you have to win now. If you do not do this, I'm just going to call a spade, you a bad father. Gable was really good here, though, and when he does go serious, my word, he makes you believe. But look, there's a lot of contenders in that thing. Wait and see. Jey Uso then replied to Drew McIntyre and said he was going to kill him, or words to that effect, when Xavier Woods, DIY The Miz, and R-Truth were playing WWE 2K24. I mean, it is out this week. The Miz was really annoyed, though, because he doesn't like any of the plans to get revenge on Judgment Day, which is dropping slime or feeding them bread. And as R-Truth said, I think that's a really good idea, because one of them may have a gluten problem, honestly. I laugh so much. R-Truth is my hero. Miz said a better plan was actually trying to win the tag team titles, as DIY and R-Truth called themselves Regeneration X. Now look, I'm gonna be honest with you, they couldn't have been more geeky, they couldn't have been more nerdy, they were massive dweebs, but I'm giving it an up, because I love all those three things. It's one of the most entertaining things I've seen in days. Two people who are walking in a completely different direction, though, were Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso, so we did get to our main event. I thought this ruled. Because they hate each other so damn much, they almost instantly were throwing each other into Alan the announce table. When they got in the ring, Uso hit a bomb of power for a 1-2-ooh. McIntyre came back with a spine buster and threw Jey into Barry Barricade, and that's when Jey was doing Samoan drops, which again is okay, for he is Samoan. Of course, though, as soon as Jey Uso did climb to the top of the turnbuckle, Solo Sikoa was here. This time he wasn't hooded, he was out in the open. Which is when, finally, after 3 years, somebody in the back was like, well, if the Bloodline do interfere, why don't we just go out there and stop them? So here came Cody Rhodes. But of course he played his music. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Man, you're in some kind of a war. Sir, should we do a secret attack? No, blast some tunes. They really did get into it though, because they brought over Barry Barricade into the crowd. And Jey actually took advantage of this. He hit all the super kicks and a spear. But when he was going to go for the splash, guess who also arrived? That's right, it was Jimmy Uso. What did I tell you about the board? Now, even though he does do this a lot, Jey couldn't handle the fact that his brother was here again. He totally forgot he was in a match. He turned around, he got Claymored, and Drew just beat him. And I love this, because McIntyre does not care anymore. He just wants wins. So he really is Britney Spears because he did it again. And afterwards, Jimbo was going to use this chair when Seth Rollins' music started to play, and he too had realized, oh yeah, we can just go out there and interfere ourselves. Now, because he zoomed past Drew, McIntyre was like, I cannot believe the disrespect. Before Seth could do anything, the Scottish Warrior appeared in the ring, and he claymored Seth's head off. He also yelled at Seth that once again he needs to ignore the Bloodline and focus on him because he's taken that world title. This is how Raw went off air. I tell you, once again, the converging storylines here are super interesting because you all know it's going to go down on that Night 2 WrestleMania main event. I'm absolutely giving it an up. You also have to go on social media right now and see the video that Drew took when he was leaving the arena. The guy's on fire. And I enjoyed this Raw muchly. Like, it felt out of control, which I think is the point, and it did a good job in promoting SmackDown. Give it up. Now, of course, please do click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs for AEW Revolution, so we can say bye this thing together. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Leave me a comment below to let me know what you thought about the show. Don't forget WrestleMania weekend on the Sunday to come to the WrestleMania live show. I will be there, and I'll do something. Don't know what yet. I'll make up my mind at some point. Goodbye.